So I was originally not sure if I was going to do this as like an official series, but I decided that there's sufficient amount of need for this to actually become a series. So I talk a lot about like in my stories about how we should be mindful and care. I talk a lot about listening to the preferences and things that your husband wants to eat, and things the way the way he likes to have things. For instance, my husband, he likes his eggs a certain way. He likes his bacon a certain way. His toast and his coffee a certain way. And so I take into consideration the things that he likes. I also take into consideration the way he likes to have his fried rice, his pasta, his food, lunch, breakfast, dinner, everything. I take into consideration. I also take into consideration things like when he gets home, what does he want to do? He probably just wants to eat, relax, drink a beer, go to bed. That's basically what I think he wants, right? So I try to make it as like less of a hassle for him when he gets home as possible. So I try to do all the dishes before he gets home. I try to have dinner waiting for him when he gets home. I try to make sure that all he has to do is sit, have his beer, and then we do the nightly things that we usually do, like set the coffee, do the dishwasher, turn on the dryer if the dryer needs to be turned on, and things of this nature. And because, I want him not to have anything to worry about except to just relax in the evening. So yeah, and also in the morning, I don't want him to worry too much either. So I like to just make sure that he wakes up, he has his breakfast waiting for him, all of his stuff that he needs to pack up for the day is ready right beside his stuff. His lunch is ready to go. If I have to make his dinner because he's going straight to his second job after work, after training, then I make sure that that's done too and waiting and things of that nature. So I always make sure that everything is done and waiting for him. These are ways that I try to honor him. There are so many ways you can honor your husband, but I focus on just the major things: home life, out in public, when you're with his friends or near or around or anywhere near someone in his life that's important. You always want to try to honor him. For instance, if you're out with his parents, you're going to want to respect them and be courteous to them and, be on your best behavior in front of them. If they are of a different ethnicity, why not try to learn their language, right? So that you guys can converse in their language if that's more comfortable for them. For instance, right now I'm trying to learn Japanese as fast as I can, and I can communicate a little bit in Japanese now conversationally, and I can ask for things in Japanese. I can respond in Japanese when asked a question. I don't know how to do more than that just yet, but I'm working on it because I feel like that would really make my husband happy for us all to be able to just speak in Japanese together, and so that his mom doesn't have to try to find the words in English. And so, yeah. And also, I try to not be the way I am at home, obviously. At home, I'm more comfortable. So I'm a bit more myself, but when I'm out in public, I try to present myself differently, carry myself differently. Quiet, spoken to only, speaking only when spoken to, taking care of the kids, mindful of what they're doing so that my husband can focus on what he wants to focus on and things of this nature. That's the same thing that if you're out with their friends, with your husband's friends, you want to make sure that you're taking care of the kids so that he can spend time with his friends and not like make him do it all so that he doesn't have time to even focus on what he's talking about with his friends, right? It's also in the way that you dress. You want to dress modestly. You want to dress honorably of your husband. You don't want to be flaunting your goods. You know what I mean? Like short booty shorts and mini skirts, and when you bend over, your little tush sticks out. You know what I mean? Like you don't want that to happen, and you don't want to be wearing a low cut top to the point where your boobs are falling out, and or like a shirt that has low armholes, so that if you're not wearing a bra, it's showing too much. You know what I mean? So you want to make sure that you're dressing appropriately. You're not wearing makeup. If you're hanging out with him and his guy friends, you're not wearing makeup. You're not doing your hair nice. You're just doing what you would do at home. You throw it up in a messy bun, maybe a braid, something. You want to also make sure that you're not calling too much attention to yourself in any way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? I do this specifically. I try not to like bring attention to myself. I don't like wear perfumes or any of that kind of thing when he's going to be hanging out with his guy friends, because I don't want to pull attention to myself in any way. You know what I mean? I don't want to make his friends stumble and cause them to do something that would be dishonorable to Johnny, or betrayal in some way. You know what I mean? So I don't dress provocatively. I don't wear provocative makeup or fragrances, or I don't talk unless spoken to. I don't I even try not to like what's the word? I try not to just I try not to be what's the word I'm trying to say here? There's a word for it, but I can't. Anyway, I try not to bend over in front of his friends. I try not to like I don't know. I try not to be I don't know what the word is. Attractive, alluring. I try not to be those things. I'm trying to find the word that to describe all of those things in one. You know what I mean? I'm trying not to be that kind of word. Oh, man. What I do try to do is be friendly and kind of like a sister, if anything. Don't, please. I'm in the middle of something. And so I try not to wear tight clothing or tight fitting clothing. I try not to wear skirts that are above the knees. I try not to wear shirts that are showing cleavage, or for that matter, even though it was really hot last year, I did wear tank tops a few times last year, but not when we were hanging out with his friends. I would wear a t-shirt and suffer that sweating and, grossness of sweating, because I sweat quite a bit. But yeah, I wore t-shirts when we were out with his friends, but I wore tank tops when I was just with him. And that's fine. You can do that. That's fine. Another thing is you want to not cuss in front of his friends and his parents, obviously, but you don't want to do any of those kinds of things. You don't want to you don't want to be immodest in speech, clothing, and behavior. You just don't. These are ways that you can honor your husband. Other ways you can honor your husband is take into consideration his requests. Like, let's say he requests, baby, I want to go on a man trip for 2 nights or 3 nights or something, right? You take that into consideration. You don't think about it as in, well, that's not fair. You don't think like that. You think, okay, I usually think about it practically, like I have to budget for it. We have to get his stuff ready that he's going to need to go. He's, things of this nature. So I make it happen for him. I say, yes, no problem. Go ahead. Just tell me when. Give me a few weeks or something to the effect, right? And so, yeah. And then, like last year, he came to me and he's like, I want to go on a man trip for 2 days. And I was like, okay, no problem. I made it happen. He went all the way up to, baby, Daddy, baby, baby.
What?
Where did you go for the 2 days? Was it Kelowna or Kamloops?
When? Oh, Merritt.
Merritt?
Yeah.
Yeah, you went to Merritt. So.
And with Alex and Andres and Leo and Fargo?
Yeah.
Yeah, Merritt.
Thank you. So, yeah, I made it happen. And you want to do that for your husband. He wants to have that kind of man time. You do it. You let him. He also liked going up to Squamish or like the other one, where is it? Mission, sometimes with his buddies for a night, alone. It's fine. You should be able to do that for your husband, and you can also let him go and hang out with his friends when he wants to go hang out with his friends. Like I don't know what it is with women nowadays, but they think that if you can't do it, then he can't do it. And that's not fair. That's just not fair. Like, men and women are built differently. I don't know about other women, but personally, I don't need to be hanging out with my friends all the time. I don't need to be hanging out with them every other day or once a week or anything like that. I get girl time when I get girl time. You know what I mean? And then I'm fine for like however long it takes until next girl time. I don't need it all the time. But I am like a homebody. I like to. I'm not I'm not very social. Is what I'm trying to say. I'm a introvert. Is what I think the world would call it. Introvert. I can handle not being around people for long periods of time. And so I usually hang out with people at the park anyway, like the moms when they come after school with their kids. I usually hang out with those moms. So I get my girl time, I mean, it's not a big deal. But men, on the other hand, they need to have that man time because I don't know if you know this, but our history of men would go out for weeks on end to go and bring home food, and then they would bring home food and it would last for quite a while. Then they have to do it again. They have to go out and hunt. Can you not?
I'm trying to look at you.
Don't. Please. I'm in the middle of something. So, yeah. What was I saying? They would go hunt and gather and then bring home. And so the women would have to be in the village taking care of things, children, community, elderly, widows, things of this nature. But men, they go off. That's what they do. They go off. And so they need to be out. They need to go and do man things. They just have to, you know what I mean? So we're built differently. women can be are homebodies. Men are outgoing and they like to go and do things, you know? So let him go and do things. Let him be a man. Let him do manly things. Let him, you know, do all the things that he wants to do, you know, that he likes to do. And definitely listen to his preferences of what he likes for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Honor him in everything that you can think of, all aspects of life. Honor him. Speech, dress, behavior, mannerisms. Do it. It's not that hard, guys. It's really not. And I don't know why ladies make it so dang hard for their husbands and then wonder why they, you know, they're going to get a divorce or whatever the case may be, separated or whatever. Usually, and I'm saying this in relation to generality is women nag, and they just nag their husbands until they leave. You don't want to do that. You don't want to nag. So, yeah, that is basically, in a nutshell, honoring your husband. And sometimes it's easier said than done. And I get that, but we women should be putting in more effort. And yes, even if you have like physical limitations like I do, I have degenerate hip disease on my right side. It runs in my family, and my mom has it, my aunts had it, her mom had it, I have it. Eventually I'll be in a wheelchair, but the thing is, there are ways that you can still do what you need to do. I found ways of doing what I needed to do. For instance, putting clothes into the dryer, I just toss them in rather than bend and put them in. And then I get the kids to take it out, or Johnny to take it out of the dryer if I have to do it that way. Another thing is I've been doing exercises and stretches to try and get more mobility in my hip and my back. And I've been seeing an improvement this week from last week. This week I've been doing a lot more, and I can bend a little bit more, and it hurts, but I'm pushing through it, and hopefully I can get to the point where I have more mobility. And so I've been doing lots of things though. I've been like constantly on my feet every day, all day long. Like, and I like to share the screenshots of my Fit app on my iWatch. So I show that I stand for many hours a day. Like as soon as I wake up and I'm out of bed, basically as soon as I put on the watch. And I wake up at around like, I don't know, 9-10-ish. As soon as I put on the watch, around like 11 or 12, because I like to do rosary first, then I get out of bed. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So I like to do the rosary first, and then I get dressed, and then I get out of bed. So from the moment I put on my watch, as soon as I'm done my rosary, to the point when I sit down at night the 2 hours before I go to bed, I am on my feet. I don't sit for more than like 5 minutes at a time, quite literally, because I have to move. I have to get up and I have to do this. I have to go and clean that. I have to get this. I have to do that, or this and that and this and that, you know. And this is another way we can honor our husbands, by taking pride and joy in what we do at home, and realizing that even if to you it's not as great as, let's say, going out and doing whatever you want to do as a career out in the world, even if that was the case for what you prefer, it is another thing to understand that there is pride and joy in doing things at home, and that we were built for that we were made to do those things. And when you finally get to do them, you find joy in it. Like, I never thought I would find joy in cleaning, cooking, baking, taking care of things, and like making sure the house is running, like on time every day. Every day there's a routine, and I love it. I love the routine. I love doing it. I take pride and joy in it. I have absolute fulfillment and happiness in what I'm doing. And just so you know, I believe that every woman is capable. Every woman should be doing it. I know that not every woman will or can or want to. That's not what I'm saying. That's every woman to her own device, like go, do whatever you want. But what I'm saying is every woman should be doing things at home and should take pride and joy in it. And they would find that it's more fulfilling than going to a 9-to-5 job, helping and slaving for another man, and then coming home and then complaining about all the things that need to be done at home. Like, that's not what a real woman does. A real woman takes care of the home and does whatever else she wants to do after. It's always first God, husband, children, and the home. That's the way it should be. And I do all of those things in one. God, husband, children, and home, all at once. And that's another way we can honor our husbands, having a good relationship with God and understanding our God-given role as women and understanding who we are in Christ and who we are to God and what our original purpose was and our actual purpose is. If we can find that and start living that role, then we honor our husbands automatically. We honor them in the way that everyone looks at the kind of woman that you are and says, I want one of those. Do you know how many times my husband comes home and tells me that the men that he works with always say when they see his lunch, man, I need one of those. And he says, what? A wife. And the ones that know my name say, I really need one of those. You need what? A Stacy. I need a Stacy. They always say this. And it makes me happy. And this is why I have problems with making friends, because most of the time when I try to make friends with Johnny's guy friends, girlfriends / wives, they're intimidated or jealous. And so if they're intimidated by me, they usually feel like their husband wants them to be more like me or something to the effect. And then if they're jealous of me, it's because they think that I want their husband. I don't want their husband or boyfriend, or whatever the case may be. I'm not that kind of woman. I don't do that. I am a one-man woman. I can only be with one man. I don't do the multiple cheating thing. I don't do that. I'm with Johnny. I'm forever with Johnny. And that's the way it's going to be. That's the way it's always going to be. And so if only the women understood this, then they wouldn't have anything to worry about. But most of the time it's because I intimidate them that their husband wants a woman like me. And if they just gave a little bit more, they would see that that would be enough. So I hope that this was helpful, and I'll come back and I'll do another episode and we'll discuss more deeply what God wants for a woman, what God expects of a woman, and the preferences that your man may want from you. Have a good evening.